So,
Okay. Oh, this chair feels even shorter.
You gotta get a
Do you
little
need a
cushion.
cushion, Chuck?
I need a booster seat.
there's one there.
There's one over here.
Chairs out.
Don't take that chair, but you have,
Oh.
I think if you all put like $100 a piece, we could get new chairs.
Well, that's not bad. Okay, so we all got handouts from Alyssa. Let's take a look at those after we finish with the 2 or 3 budgets we're taking a look at today. And apparently, we are starting
With me,
with cable.
Cable.
cable. Howdy, everybody.
Hello.
Hold on just one second, please.
Seconds up.
Okay.
Okay, got it? Glad you got it, because I don't. But, I really don't know what the mayor proposed, because I really didn't see much. Alyssa just told me we have 3 lines, 2 lines, actually. One is supplies, and one is my payment, my monthly cost, yearly cost. So I don't think we're changing any of that as far as,
So the mayor's budget was what it was last year.
basically, 1,000.
Same thing.
Same thing, so we didn't change anything. The only thing I'd like to propose is to change to put a line on for just equipment. We've got a computer, and I'd like to buy an air conditioner for the new room. We lost the air conditioner, and the one air conditioner that came with the room is very loud. And if anybody knows when you're trying to do something, having a loud noise doesn't help you much to do audio and video stuff. So I'd like to see us just put $1,000 into that for a couple, computer, an air conditioner, and a printer. That's the printer I have is SOL.
And you'd like for us to take that out of the franchise fee?
Yeah, so most of the money that comes in for the cable is usually pretty well pulled out of the franchise. We had an estimate of 100,000 last year, possibly this year, might be a little bit lower. And we usually pull my funds out of that account. So it's not in, the taxpayers, I wouldn't say taxpayers, the cable subscribers pay that
Right.
fee we get. They pay, for every cable subscriber pays a percentage on their bill to run basically access station somewhat. So we try to take the money out of that account for that.
Alyssa, is that money held separately, or is that all just part of the general
All
fund?
part of the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all, gets put back in the general fund. So if we could pull at least 1,000 out of that account for those 3 things, and maybe put that in equipment, not under supplies. So because we do have a line there for equipment, but we haven't used it in a long, long time. It's just been stationary, 0.
I think at this point, we're not really able to add anything into your line. If you would like us to take that $1,000 and split it between supplies and equipment, we could do that.
Well, that wouldn't cover our cost of items that we have for the internet and telephone and other stuff that we come out of that line from. So taking $1,000 originally was at $3,000 at one time, and it went down to $1,000 last year. And I'm pretty sure we went for the full 1,000, and that whole 1,000 got used, if I'm correct.
Actually, it looks like you used a bit more than that, but
Yeah, why is there,
He had, grants.
Grant,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah. And there were expenses with the move and everything,
right, we used that money for the grant
yeah.
that we put in there, so that wasn't expenses that you guys put in, it was the tax, on that side, it was money, $1,000 it was only $1,000.
okay.
So splitting that would probably be a little rough because of our internet and our service and our supplies that we have to buy throughout the year. But dropping that down more than what it was would be very, very low.
Where is that, the franchise?
4 of 5. Oh, the franchise.
First page, non-property tax.
Oh, that's, okay.
Franchise tax.
Franchise.
Franchise fee, right.
Yeah.
Now,
So
now
you think
that's,
going down this year?
It's been continuously going down.
I think.
that's a tax that people pay when they have cable TV.
Are there
Because-
fewer people getting cable?
Yep.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't had cable in
So
10
you're-
years.
You're part of the reason.
I sure am.
I got rid of my TV in the 90s.
Yeah.
oh, well,
Yeah, there's two.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm
I still
proposing,
have it.
one thing I'd like to propose to you on that money is to take a percentage of that money and put it in a savings account for down the road. Because as that decreases, we're gonna get less and less in that. And it would be wise, and I've asked this before about having something of the that money taken and put it into a savings account or something, because we're not gonna see that eventually. And then we're gonna be trying to figure out where to get
Pay
everything from.
for.
Pay for.
Right.
And as cable disappears, we're probably looking at different ideas for, that ideas.
Yeah, this is probably
Gain
not
money.
a good year to undertake that. I mean, we're, we need.
I know you need
all the
every penny,
revenue.
but
Yeah,
at the same time, what are you gonna do? My problem is if we have during a round, sometime we have a piece of equipment that we need to replace or do something with, we're not gonna have the money available. And I'm talking about a 3% of that money to be put into an account that's only like $3,000 to hold. If we did that 3-4 years, we'd have something
built up.
built up. Right now, equipment-wise, we're pretty safe and pretty decent with. So we're holding a lot of that money, but
Is Spectrum ever going to give us any more money other than the franchise fee
we
check?
are done into our next contract.
Okay, and when is our next contract?
5 years. No, 10.
10
10 years.
Is it 10 years?
Yeah, we did a
Okay.
10-year contract.
Uh-huh,
So we're not gonna see anything, we're not gonna be able to negotiate anything for 10 years.
right, right.
I mean, it's just no different than at your house, putting a couple bucks away in case the water pump breaks or the water tank breaks, or the furnace breaks. I'm just looking at long-range ideas.
Right,
That money has been coming in high numbers. When I first started, it was over $200,000 coming in. And we really didn't do anything, we really didn't do much
No,
of it.
it just went to general
Just
fund.
went to general fund.
I remember that.
So, we're starting to crunch numbers, and we should have done it then, we tried to do it then, and we still weren't able to do it, so. But I would like to see if we can get 1,000 for some of the equipment, supplies, for the office supplies,
So you'd like for us to add another 1,000 and make it 2,000?
Yeah,
It's 1,000 right now.
if we could put 1,000 in equipment and 1,000 in supplies, leave the supplies alone. Because we did fine on supplies last year, is that correct? So,
So you'd have a third line, equipment.
no, there's already a third line in there for equipment. Or put it in supplies, however, look at it.
okay, anybody else have anything? Chip?
No?
We have, been back online
Yes,
with the meetings, we're live today, again, streaming.
thank you.
Get a chance, come on over to the new place and take a look. Still work in progress, takes a while,
Right.
but we're definitely doing a lot of services. So, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Chip.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Thank
thanks
you,
for your time.
When would I know last year we had a little discussion on some things that decisions were made and then we weren't really able to find out or have any discussion with that. Is that something you guys are gonna discuss here today? Make a final decision today?
Yeah,
We plan to.
We
We're gonna
plan
try.
to
So would I have another opportunity
talk?
to talk on Thursday or Wednesday?
No,
No.
no, because,
You
Yes,
can-
as a village resident.
Yeah, you can come
Yeah.
Wednesday, because
Wednesday,
there's a
yeah.
public hearing on the budget.
Okay, is that 6 o'clock? Cause we've had different conflicts of
Well,
6 and
there's one at-
6:30.
There's one at 6, the one at 6 is for the tax cap increase,
Okay,
the one at 6:30 is for the budget.
oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're covered on that part.
At least that's the schedule right now.
So nothing for tomorrow?
No.
No.
We
We're
hope-
canceling tomorrow morning.
Okay.
We're hopeful.
We'll find out at the end of the day today.
Well,
Hopefully get out of here with the next 3 hours. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chip.
thank you, Chip.
You got a chance to go over the proposed budget, the mayor's proposed budget?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the proposed budget and your proposed budget and the mayor's adjusted budget is about a $5,000 decrease. When you're looking, yeah, because
More like 7, because
department head's
he's also
proposed
planning.
budget was one, yeah, I'm just looking at zoning,
Okay.
was 129 and his budget was 124. So looking through that, are any of those cuts, do you see will have a significant and detrimental impact on what you can do this year?
Slightly.
Okay? Which ones in particular?
Travel and training for the planning board is mandatory, and you took out all money there. The mayor took out all money. So I think at least 500 back in there again.
Oh, under planning?
Yeah, the
Travel and
planning,
training.
yeah, they're, there's no, travel and training, line. They took it out. Oh, they took the money out.
Yeah, it looks like you left some in, but.
There's $500.
500, Chuck.
500 for supplies.
The supplies is 200, travel training is
500.
500.
Oh, I got 25.
Oh, here,
Trust me, I do.
okay.
This end one here.
It looks like you asked for 2,000, and the mayor took away 1,500, leaving 500. But how much is,
Is that an annual training? Because none of that was spent this year.
Yes, they are now. Yeah, it is. It's probably the way I wrote it, but their training starts. Their training, big training's in June, so they'll all head out to I can't get the name of that college. Houghton. They all go out to Houghton College,
right,
or most of them do. So
What does that cost? What's the total cost on that? do you
I'm
know?
not sure what the fee. I guess like I don't know. Are we members of the Southern tier?
Yes.
And then I think it's like $50 each or something.
Okay, so there's enough to cover that, at least.
Yeah, if there's $500 in there, I didn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was nothing.
You thought
in
it was
there.
zero?
As long as there's some
Yeah.
money in there.
Yeah, there's 500.
Some of them stay local. Some of them, yeah. We had some training with my organization at the fairgrounds this year. That's probably why there was nothing taken out, is because we did some training at the fairgrounds. And I know Brian and our zoning board chairman and some of the members took advantage of that, so there wouldn't have been a fee.
Okay.
And we didn't charge a fee for when we did our
Nice.
training, so, and I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off again, but we did it one year, so. I don't know if I'll be able to get that training in again, where it's free. The other thing that I noticed, was my contractual. My contractual is used for property maintenance, so it's just up to you, to the board, how much property maintenance you want me to do, grass cutting, stuff like that. Years ago, I used to have to come to the board, and the board would do a resolution to have me do it. This kind of streamlines it now, where I just take it out of my budget, and we do property. I don't know how bad it's gonna be this year, if there's a lot of grass cuttings and, properties that are, gotta be cleaned up. I won't know until we get further into this season. So, but just know that's what that line's for, is property maintenance plus all our, subscriptions, stuff like that, our computer software. And I believe I take the zoning board fees out of there, the zoning board, payment.
Right. Is that for each individual zoning board member? How much is that, Chuck? Remind me.
They get, the chairman gets $100 a meeting quarterly, and there's 4 quarters, and each member gets, I think, 50
Okay,
a quarter.
per quarter. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that's probably not in there because, with the lack of a clerk, I hadn't done it until now. So they were behind from September on. They didn't have any payment, we just did it now, trying to get them caught up for the year, and they've got one more payment now in May. And then they're done, and they start again in August.
Okay.
The only other thing, and I didn't ask, because I know that we're in a tough financial crunch right now, but we gotta keep in mind that the vehicle, our code enforcement vehicle is a 97, and every time it goes in the shop, it's $500, $400. So you've only got $700 in there for maintenance. You might wanna up that a little bit. If that car's down, then Tom, I use my own vehicle, I don't even use a village vehicle for the little bit that I go out. But Tom uses that car every day. And when it breaks, it's usually $400 or
Costly.
$500. We just had to do a whole bunch of work on the suspension and stuff. So,
Weren't we thinking of giving him an old police car?
I was just gonna say, I
Yeah.
wonder if we could do that.
If nothing else, we should be able to get it a classic car plate and reduce insurance costs. And it's old.
Not a 97.
Sure, that's almost.
Well,
Why don't we take a look
Almost 30.
at our
Yeah.
fleet of
Right.
older vehicles and see if there's anything in there that's in
Better shape.
better shape than what they currently have.
And the chief has offered us his Taurus. And when I talked to the mayor about that, the mayor was concerned because what was the chief gonna want to replace that? So it kinda like fizzled. But the other problem is too, is a lot of the police department cars are pretty beat down. So how much more am I looking at?
Right.
And maybe
And
this here vehicle,
maintenance.
I know what I have for now, you know?
Well, and a
But-
lot of their stuff is,
It's used.
they're used, but, I think Tom's driving a little differently than our officers are, so hopefully they won't be continued to get beat. Yeah, maybe not that oldest car, but the one under it that we're looking to replace this year.
Yeah, I know there's a Taurus, and I had not looked at it, because I just wasn't, too keen on taking a police vehicle. I thought it was one of the bigger ones, which definitely I don't want, because the road cars are just, they're really beat
Beat
down.
up.
And you gotta understand, if the speedometer says $100,000, you gotta double that, or 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
You gotta double it
Yeah,
because it
'cause they're
runs
always
24/7, so you need to double that. So what am I getting myself into, you know? Unless they do another drug bust, because that's how I got the Saturn was a drug bust for free, so, back in the 90s. So,
Anything else for Chuck?
I get a copy of my budget then. Thank you. That it?
Okay. Yep.
That's it.
Thanks,
Thank
Chuck.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yep, have a good day.
Tom's driving around an old drug car.
So did we all get Kayla's email?
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a look at her email, please.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Alright. So Erlissa, does her personnel cost reflect her 12 for full-time and 4 per diem?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
So she requested that the Supply and contractual lines not be decreased, and they were.
What contractual?
Yeah, what comes out of
What- yeah.
contractual?
So usually if they hire, like, they have the yoga program and they
I was just gonna
have-
say, is it all the extra, not extra stuff, but the extra people that
The
they then have
karate
to,
or
yeah,
whatever,
like
yeah.
contractors that they end up hiring? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, she was budgeted more than she spent last year.
And typically she works with what she has.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
Yeah.
she has to. I know we heard from her about her opinion on charging a fee. I have mixed feelings about the fee. I think this isn't completely out of nowhere,
We
the
talked
idea of
about it
us
last
charging
year.
a fee. We discussed it last year. In fact, multiple parents proposed that as an alternative to shutting down the program, so I don't think it's coming out of nowhere, but I do understand her concerns about parents, families getting a final notice that we're charging a fee officially this late in the year. So just to take out the surprise element for next year, I think we should charge a fee, maybe like something very small, like $10, $15 a kid, that isn't going to be, you know, a huge financial impact for families, but then
Right.
also, it's not then a surprise next year when it, you know, increases a little bit, or, you know, whatever happens with it.
So we had, during the rec meeting, we had with the town of Pomfret and Kayla and her assistant, we mentioned a $50 fee. And we also mentioned, that we understood that for some parents, that was gonna be
Right,
tough.
too much.
And if you had, you know, 3 kids, you weren't gonna charge $50 per child, that was not gonna happen.
Right.
So the suggestion was made, how many, she said probably 75% of the kids, I think was the figure she used. Parents were gonna struggle to make that payment. So we suggested, at that time, that she start, or someone starts contacting different organizations to sponsor a child to go to summer rec programs, and I don't know if she followed through with that or not.
She, in her email, she references that the mayor was going to be doing something with that.
The mayor wasn't even at the meeting.
So I don't know if they had a separate conversation, that's what her email
Yeah, it does.
referenced.
Does the budget show, that we were gonna charge anything for that?
I did, no, that wasn't put in there.
Okay.
Just because there was nothing
Yeah.
finalized, so.
Yeah,
Right.
so I have no problems with a $25 fee this year. I think that would, for the first year, I think that would be more feasible. And then with the understanding that, depending on our financial situation, that the fees may be adjusted next fiscal year.
So my only concern with the fee, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing at all, but are we going to have to split that with the town? Because they pay a portion of the,
Yeah, we should.
okay.
We should split that with them.
Yeah, so I think,
Yeah.
And it should be proportional.
Right.
yeah, I think it should be proportional for who's, you know, so she is then gonna have to really keep good track of who's at each playground
Right. She does that anyway.
each day. So that way you can work some magical treasurer numbers and figure out how much.
You mean, village versus town of Pomfret?
Yeah, cause,
Right.
you know, let's say we have 100 kids
Yeah.
that attend the program,
Yeah.
and 3 of them only are at Barker and 10 of them are at Russell Joy Park, well then, why would they
Well,
get
then the
half?
cost,
You know
right.
what I mean? So to
got
make
it.
sure that it's,
A fair distribution, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
a
that seems
distribution
to
that
make
makes sense, not just a blanket number, but what's actually. I
Right.
mean, I'm sure Russell Joy and Barker are probably the 2 heaviest attended, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right,
But still,
to consider that.
And we probably shouldn't include whatever revenue that might be in the budget, 'cause we have no idea.
Right.
That's what
I agree.
especially for this.
I mean, if you just wanna throw, just so we have a line, just like $100, cause we know we'll get $100.
I just have a place to put it.
Yeah. Yep.
So do we wanna do 25 or do we wanna do even lower?
I want to do lower. I just think that they're being hit with a higher tax and, you know, I was gonna say not charge anything this year. It just seems like the cost of everything's gone up, that families are struggling as it is. And I just feel like it wouldn't be fair to increase it so high right now.
Do we
You know-
wanna do 20, 15?
I could see 20, but I wouldn't want to put that cap of only paying for 2 kids on at that rate. I'd say if you have
No.
3 kids, you pay
Yeah.
for all 3.
Yeah,
You know, we talked about capping it at 2 children per family,
yeah,
and not charging a fee for a 3rd or 4th kid, but that was at 50. At 20, I think
yeah,
you have 3 kids, $60 for a summer, you know, for 5,
Yeah.
6 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I
think it's
I
5
totally
weeks.
get it that families don't have a ton of money, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a single mom, I don't have a ton of money either. But we gotta do
I just
something.
feel like they'll come and complain, what are we getting for our money?
You're
You
getting
know,
6
Getting
weeks
a
of
recreation
summer
program, which we
recreation
didn't
program.
cancel.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But then they're gonna have to pay for it. But like you said, people did come and they were willing to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had more than
They-
one,
they
per-
did
we had
speak about
multiple
that.
families step up and say, please don't cancel it. If you have to, charge us a fee, but please don't
Right.
cancel it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just the fee, it is where we're at, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also
Yeah.
a tax increase, right? You have a tax increase and a
Yes.
fee.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
it,
it's a double implication to the taxpayers.
right,
Well, user fees are double implications everywhere across the board, not just recreation.
No,
Yeah.
and I'm not against charging
Yeah.
a fee. If you go to almost any other community, they'll charge a
they'll
recreation.
charge.
Yeah.
So
What
it's-
does Dunkirk charge? I know, I think they charge,
Well over $100.
is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
But
And
they,
it's- and it's
they
going up,
canceled their day camp.
yeah.
Oh, they had that camp, that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's been
Right.
canceled. That's not happening. They're doing
Right.
something in the city.
Do they have playground attendance like we do? I don't know.
If they are doing something official like that, they would have to.
Right, right.
Yeah, but so their fee was,
Yeah, it's
Was
like
he-
Somewhere.
$160
Yeah.
or something
Right.
per child.
That was for a camp too, I mean, that was
No,
for
that's
busing
without
the
the camp
children and,
anymore.
oh, that was without,
That's this
The
year
That's
without
this
the camp.
year's, just-
The camp's been canceled.
yeah.
okay. Yeah,
so
Yeah.
$20 per
so
child?
where are
Sure.
we at, 20?
20 per child?
Yeah.
Okay,
That'll cover some of the costs and.
are we still, going to open it up for other people that don't live in the village or the town to attend the playground out there?
We had in the past, right?
Right,
As long as.
Right.
Have we?
I think we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Do we wanna charge them 25, non-resident fee, 25?
Maybe charge a little more, that's what I was gonna say.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, resident, 20, non-resident, 25?
meaning the town of Pomfret too, not
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
village, right,
Yeah.
right.
anything else in the recreation,
I don't think so.
parks?
Well,
I just have a
What about-
question. She talks about a lack of transparency with the parents. What What does she mean?
Wait a minute, where does she talk about a lack of
Oh.
transparency?
It's in her email.
Yeah, that's like the last paragraph.
Oh,
I mean, we've been talking about this in open meeting for some time. I don't,
I
it's
think
even
what
had
she's
coverage
talking
in
about
it,
is
so.
that, you know, like in January, parents, guardians weren't notified, like, hey, we're gonna be charging this year for the rec program officially, this is your official notice. You know, cause
Yeah.
if you don't watch the village meetings and you don't read the newspaper, you're going to have no idea. And
Yes.
that's a fair statement, but,
It also
you know.
says that timeframe is very short.
Yeah, cause
For
it
notice.
starts in, July. So
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna give parents, families,
That'd be,
2.5 months.
yeah, which, which I get, if you have, you know, let's say 4 kids that you were planning to send, and now you need to come up with $200, you know, in 2 months, and you're already living paycheck to paycheck, yeah, that's almost impossible. So I, like I said, I understand your
Yeah.
concerns, so we'll,
So now it's $80.
yeah, which is a
So
little better than,
I guess we're
That's
gonna
what
have
we're
to have a policy, has to be paid by the end of the program, or before you can enroll your
Oh,
child.
before,
I would say when you enroll your
Right.
child,
Okay,
payments
Oh, yeah.
due.
because
Right.
that question is gonna come up.
you
Yeah.
have to have that.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Pay in advance.
all right.
oh,
I did want to ask about the music and the cost of that. Is that in this budget? Music in the park?
I believe it's currently listed still in publicity for $5,000.
Where would that be? Parks? Not supplies, right? No.
No, it's in a different,
I know, I'm trying to locate that.
is it on our first page? Is it under snow removal, economic assistance, publicity,
Publicity, yeah.
$5,000?
There it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So are we officially canceling the summer concert series then?
3.
We are not officially canceling it as long as it costs us nothing.
So do we wanna take $4,000 out of that line?
Whatever, was budgeted for that series, needs to be removed from the line.
Okay, is that what that
That's
entire?
all that line is used for.
Yeah.
So then let's knock that down to 500. Take out 4,500, cause I don't wanna knock it down to nothing.
Why don't we take $1,000 from it and give it to Chip?
Oh, for his supplies?
For equipment, yeah.
Equipment.
Well, we have police officers that need bullets before he needs
Yeah,
That's fair,
cables.
but
Yeah, so let's knock that down to 500.
500? As it stands right now, I know the mayor was waiting to get a grant, and we haven't heard anything about that, have we, Alyssa?
No.
No,
That's not gonna happen.
that's not going to
I mean,
happen.
even if we had the money now,
Right,
to
Right.
put it together
Execute.
would be very
it's
difficult.
too late to book anybody.
it,
Yeah.
Right,
the likelihood
Yeah.
is very low.
yeah, that's what I thought.
no announcement's gonna be made that there will not be a program. We're not gonna make that announcement, that there's not gonna be one. But the program is dependent on, outside funding and the availability of bands,
Donations,
however that works.
however
Yeah.
the money comes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where we need to be right now.
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
So let's start right at the beginning of all of our lines.
I think we still need to, for the moment, ignore Alyssa's update until we go through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, trustees. Anybody willing to work for free?
Yes.
I thought we already are.
I'm serious.
Next to nothing, not quite nothing.
I think, let's take a look at
All
that.
right, thank you for the clarification.
Let's take a look at that.
5 cents is still 5 cents.
Let's take a look at it.
And 1 cent is 1 cent.
If we, my feeling is, I need to get to that page first. My feeling is, we have imposed hardship on every department. All departments are doing without. And there's no doubt in my mind that before the end of fiscal year 25-26, we're looking at another loan. Because the departments are not gonna have in the budget what they need to get into a year. I firmly believe that. And we've heard it from all of them, and they're not wrong.
Correct.
They're not wrong, but, and I said I was gonna ignore this figure, but I take a quick look at the changes that we proposed, and we're up to almost a 70% increase. And that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. So I think if we're going to tell every department they need to do less, they need to do the same job they did last year with less, then I think we can expect that of ourselves as well. So I would suggest that we cut that in half.
It doesn't bring in much money, though, I mean, really.
I'm talking about the
but-
trustees' personnel line.
Yeah, if we,
Right.
if our stipend is
We wouldn't get 5,000, so
We
what are
would
you
not.
proposing?
2,500.
2,500?
Yep.
I would support that.
I also think maybe then the mayor should also be cut in half, because
Well,
that's a
I was
decent
gonna
chunk.
say,
That's another 6.
I think before we cut him,
how,
I mean, it's our decision to cut our own budget. I think we at
Yeah.
least deserve to have a conversation with him. He at least needs,
I don't know how much of an impact that's going to be, though, to be honest with you.
what's that?
If we cut our pay,
What
By
impact
half.
is it gonna have? I mean, I'm
yeah,
not, how do I say this? I don't think any of us got into this because we wanted to make $5,000 a year. I don't think $186 every 2 weeks is keeping us financially afloat as people and as families.
I think it's a fair amount for the work we do.
I think,
Oh, I don't, but
Well, not really, I know.
Well, yeah.
we are not even making minimum wage,
Well,
Michelle.
we're, yeah, I mean, that's my point.
But
you
I,
know?
but at the same time, I agree with John, you know, we're looking at department heads and saying,
yeah,
sucks to suck, I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you,
We're not gonna give,
but we're still not gonna take any hit.
yeah, I think that's, not only do I think it's the right thing to do, I think it sends a horrible message.
Sure.
If we're not willing to, you know.
we'll drop
Also
it to
take a hit.
4,000 then, I would say.
Drop,
Because if you percentage-wise, we're not dropping anybody by 50%, are we?
no, we're
No.
not,
No,
we're not.
right.
But I think you can't compare our salaries to what we're expecting the police to do on a very reduced budget. That is not apples to apples.
No.
Well, we're already doing more work that's required. I mean,
And that's what we got elected to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand that. But to me, it just is crazy. I don't know. I really don't feel,
We wanna meet somewhere in the middle and do a stipend of 3,000? Cut 2,
I'd like to cut it by 1,000.
cause if we all go down
4,000.
by 2, that's 10 grand right there.
I would,
Nice round number.
Yeah. So that's just, you know, $14,000 that we just found.
And what about the mayor's budget?
I think we could tentatively cut him by 2, take him down to 10.
I'll accept, well,
You'll accept on
Accept.
his behalf.
no,
How
no.
kind of you.
Although I still think that we should reduce the personnel line to 12.5, I would be okay with 15.
Okay.
What's the, let's talk about this. What's the, Ben, are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Paul?
What do you,
Cutting the personnel, trustees' personnel line to 15,000.
So that way our stipend is only 3.
Is that what it is? 3?
It's a will.
Currently, it's 5.
Well, no, right,
But
but
it
if
would-
we cut,
Cut it down to 15, we'll be down to 3.
so that would be for fiscal year 25, 26.
It'll start
Yep,
correct.
June
starting
1.
in June.
yeah.
And then,
That-
would
that
that be
5 cent check will be
reevaluated
down
the
to-
following year?
Everything's
Of course.
reevaluated the
Yeah.
following
Right.
year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could give yourselves a nice raise next year.
Back to where you were, maybe, we're halfway there.
I mean, the goal would be to secure more funds and also, B, make a statement. Is that correct?
that we're also sacrificing
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
budget?
Yep,
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
all right.
Supplies, 500. What do we even use that for?
Usually it's for like the meetings posted in the Observer and that
Okay.
kind of stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Village justice, personnel is set, they don't get overtime. Supplies, contractual, I don't think any of that can really move.
The contractual, that's for the interpreter, most of that. right?
Yes.
Generally, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And so I asked, because I was like, why do we spend so much on an interpreter? There's like, you have to select from this list. That's a very regulated who you can and cannot
Yeah.
select, so
Yeah.
we're kinda stuck there. Mayor, personnel, like I said, I think if we're taking a hit, I would like to take his personnel line down to 10,000.
Right.
I think that's a,
How do we feel about that?
I think that's an easier number
I
to
agree.
swallow than half.
Ben?
Well, what's our
I hate
percentage?
to do it, but, especially without talking about it, but, with him, but, you know, it seems
I
reasonable.
think it should be equal to whatever the percentage is that we're taking a hit on, Alyssa.
So what's the reduction?
So what
We'd
would
be going
that
from
be?
5 to 3. It's what,
That'd be like 8.
35% reduction.
I think it should be equal to ours.
Yeah, maybe.
So that would drop him to 7,200.
I'd be uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, me too. I'd at least wanna keep it at 8.
Uh,
8,000 then?
Meet you halfway at 9. We started at 10.
Sold.
Well, I think it should be percentage-wise, the same as the trustees.
Well, he's also attending a lot more than
Yeah.
we are, has a lot more time commitment than
He
we do,
does.
which is why he,
So you want to keep it at 8 then?
or 9, we can meet in the middle at 9.
Nine?
Utilities and telephone, why?
So
Does-
are we at
Sorry.
9?
Does he have a say in this, or no?
It's our budget.
It's our
No,
budget.
this is our budget. He handed it to us. It's our decision now.
Okay.
I mean, he can have an opinion, but
Right.
at the end of the day, this
I
is,
don't blame him if he has one.
yeah.
So we're going with 9.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
hear.
What about utilities and telephone?
Yeah,
Is that what
why,
you're looking
why
at?
is that $4,100 that's been spent out of that line?
So it's the way it's divided in the building. Our DFT bill has
Oh, yeah.
skyrocketed, and I've been reviewing what is going on with it
Okay,
in this building. It's pretty high, and it's not divided properly amongst the departments,
Okay,
so I'm
okay.
going over that a lot.
Is the village also paying for a phone for him, like a separate cell phone?
Yes.
We should not be. If police officers are struggling for vests and firefighters are struggling for gear, he does not get to have a
But-
cell phone.
If he's an elected official, he's the mayor, so you're suggesting that he would use his personal cell phone?
Just like
For-
the rest of us,
for
yes, and all of our department heads
village
who are on
business.
call 24/7 and everything else, yes. Yes, I
Do you-
am.
So how much would that
Do
be
you, do you
then?
not think we should do that, Paul? What's your feeling?
No, I don't. I think okay, we don't have official village cell phones. We use our own
Right.
personal.
Correct.
I get that.
As do the department heads.
What would that save us?
$35 a month, I believe, is his cell phone bill.
$35?
A month, yeah.
Did we,
$420, yeah.
did we purchase that phone?
Yeah, did we purchase that phone?
Yes.
35 a month.
So that could also be handed back and provide probably savings.
Well, what are you gonna do with the phone then?
I was gonna say, so it's gotta be more than 35, or did we purchase it outright?
It was just, I think it was one of the free deals where if you signed up at that point, the phone was
Okay.
free.
Do we have anybody else on?
On a phone.
Yeah,
So Lewis has one through the water plant and Josh has one.
okay.
So if you're gonna cut one, you should cut them all.
Do we know,
Well, we're talking about $35 a month. How much is that?
I know.
$420.
$420, I
I
wouldn't
don't
get
think
in this
it's
for
worth it.
$420.
No, I think he should have
but why
one.
do some have them and some don't?
So Lewis got one when they set up the
Security?
I was gonna
SCADA
say,
system.
that I do
Yeah.
remember, so that,
Yeah.
yeah, so that had to happen.
Yeah, because
Right.
that all connected so that
That's
he was
important.
alerted.
Right.
Yep, that makes sense.
And then, as far as fire department, I'm not really sure.
Does the chief of police have a paid phone through the
I was
village?
asked to sacrifice, so I didn't get one.
How long has the fire chief had a cell phone?
Almost since just after he started.
I wouldn't be opposed to cutting both of them. I understand, yeah, because of the system that's in place for the water treatment plant, like
Lew-
that person, like that phone
Lewis
just
has
has
to
to have.
have it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
phone has to exist. But I think the other two, even though it's a very, like, small savings, I think those other two should be cut. I get that we're not, saving a whole ton of money, but I don't like that.
Well, I think if we asked Chief Price to, or he volunteered to turn his phone in, then that's only right that we do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the other two.
Sure.
I don't wanna be cherry picking who,
Yeah.
no.
So,
We're not in a position to get one for all, so we will
Yeah.
get one for none.
so who would you be asking?
Josh and the
The
mayor.
mayor and the fire
The
chief.
mayor and Josh, okay.
Yep.
Fire chief.
If we're going to include a travel line for the mayor, then we need to approve him when he wants to go somewhere. And if we're not gonna do that, then let's just take it out.
I mean, I don't know that $1,000 is gonna cover him to go
To Nikon?
really anywhere.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll pay for him to go to one of the NICOM meetings,
Is it enough for
should he
one?
choose to do that, yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yep. So if we keep that $1,000 in there, then he can decide what he wants to use it on.
Which one?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
nothing more. What about going to luncheons and,
If that's what he
Dinners.
chooses to use it for, then
Yeah,
that's what he
then
chooses to use it
that
for.
would be out of that cost though, is what I'm thinking, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when it's gone, it's gone.
All right. Treasurer. Personnel line is set, supplies,
Well,
utilities.
are we gonna be not giving any raises to department heads?
Oh, that was,
We are not.
yeah, that's been, that was
Okay,
not factored in, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no raises are figured in for department heads. Yeah,
How does that factor into the contracts that are currently being
Department
developed?
heads,
They
There's
don't
no,
have contracts.
There is no contract.
Oh, this is everyone
Yeah.
below.
They're employed at will.
They're-
yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
affect,
Yes.
it doesn't affect them,
Okay,
other
right.
employees at all, just
Correct.
department heads.
So we would, could I see that figure though, what the adjustment would be?
Yeah, that's her,
That-
that's the longevity pay.
so the longevity pay is the difference, and then, Kara has a portion of her pay in the treasurer portion and has a portion, because there's the percentage of each of our pay in the treasurer clerk and then the water sewer, because all of us do a portion of work in each of
Right.
that. So that's not just my pay
So that's
either.
not, right, that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out.
And
Yeah.
Kara has figured, because she is CSEA, she has figured for
She
some
is a
sort
union.
of increase.
Right, right, so any union member would still get their raise, right.
She,
Because that's
she would be entitled to
Right.
a step increase anyway.
Okay. And we're saying no longevity pay also?
No.
No, they
no,
are getting longevity.
They're
pay.
getting longevity, it's a contract, it's in their
That-
agreement.
No,
That
I'm,
is-
I'm sorry, I mean for the department heads.
Yes,
Yeah, they get
They are
it's
getting
in their,
longevity.
it's in their agreement.
that is
It-
within their agreement.
It is
Yeah.
in their agreement?
Yep.
I guess I wasn't familiar with that agreement.
Yeah, it's from January 2024. Find it here. Equipment longevity. Longevity payment shall be made in a separate check on the date of the first pay period in June of each year. So it says they shall be paid. And I
Okay.
think this year, how many department heads are getting longevity pay?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so there's only a couple this year
Okay.
that are getting it.
It
But
would
it's-
be
it's-
the police chief, Erlissa, Anne Marie.
And
The fire
Scott.
chief hasn't been here long enough.
Correct.
Louis.
Scott, probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
continuing on. Supplies, utilities, that's part of that DFT
Yes.
mess,
So
correct?
anyone in
Okay.
this building, building inspector, village clerk.
I'd like to,
That's fun.
have you and I meet with DFT to talk about that.
Yeah, it's quite a
Since I'm on
mess.
finance, yes. I think we should try to get that figured out, what's going
What's,
on.
can you offer a background on that?
So, it used to be, divided, the bill used to be divided a certain way in this building. And now, some of the phone lines don't exist, but the bill really hasn't
Been
been
adjusted?
adjusted at all
Right.
to account for those lines not being
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Yeah,
That could
needs
be
to
a good
fixed.
savings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it may just be like whatever the type of plan it is, but we have to address it because it should be reduced still.
Right,
right, right.
okay.
So,
Have we
Well-
thought about shopping those services around?
I actually do have some pricing on
Great.
services for elsewhere.
Like, yeah,
Okay.
alternate.
So we
I know,
will-
I mean, I would hate to, go away from DFT because they're local, but they've got to understand our situation too, how we're spending money and,
No, so we
You know,
can have
we're-
the conversation and say, hey, here's what we can
Right.
get.
Yeah.
right, can you match it?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's-
Gotta do it, gotta do it.
Oh, yeah,
all right.
no doubt. Thank you.
Travel training, that's $1,000. Is there anything that you have to do that doesn't cover? Or that Kara has to do that doesn't cover?
Not that I have to, no.
Okay.
But I think it's, and you went to training this year, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's nice for you
Because
to
I-
go to
yeah.
fall school for
Yeah.
NICOM.
And I think, yeah, I think it's
beneficial
really
for both you and
beneficial
me, right?
when Erlis and Ann go to those, I think just annually, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do get a lot out
Yeah.
of that.
Contractual is contractual. Alright, clerk. There's really nothing to adjust there.
Why? So we haven't been billed yet, for the negotiations that Melanie's been involved in, I'm assuming?
Only,
what is
the
Melissa's
initial
contractual
first round, one meeting for
Treasurer.
the first fire, I think.
Okay, so do we anticipate not being billed until after this? new
We
fiscal
should
year?
get, a bill for, I think the second one here pretty quick.
Okay. And,
And our bill did adjust to that new rate, but there's lots of free hours.
We like
Yeah.
free.
yeah,
Don't tell them.
do we think,
For the law,
so
are you
once,
talking?
Yes.
once fire and we're gonna have to do CSA this year too, do we think $30,000 is gonna cover that? With the expectation that it might drag on for a while?
That's really a hard,
Yeah,
hard one to guess.
well, I wouldn't wanna raise it.
Right.
No, we just
No.
aren't gonna get anything more off of it. Okay.
We have a question about, the treasurer's contractual, what is that?
So that's typically our audit, and then there is, some IT services for the computer.
Okay,
I actually have an RFP out for auditing services, because our 5 years is up for the audit. So I have no idea what this year's
What
gonna
that
cost, which
is
is
gonna
why it's a little
cost.
higher,
so you've
because I
built
wasn't sure
that
what to have
up
it in there.
then, I see.
So that also includes IT support? Is that through DFT?
No, through,
Oh, there's a company in Westfield, I
yes,
believe.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, all right.
Can't think of the name of it.
Is that, do we sign a contract periodically with them?
We've had one ongoing for a few years. I think it's 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And contractual for village clerk would be,
She also has a portion of the IT. She has
That's what I
the
thought.
printers.
okay.
Okay.
Buildings and grounds, this is for the person that cleans, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go up this for a second, under, contractual, and that's what we're paying, that's how much we're setting aside for the attorney's fees, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
So-
75, it was 75,000 last year, and we're reducing that 15,000 this year?
Yes, that's.
And I know
Okay.
we were considering maybe hiring a second attorney on an as-needed basis, so
Right.
that wouldn't leave any money in that line.
No, because whatever work they would do, our attorneys wouldn't do.
We
So it
would
wouldn't-
just
yeah, it wouldn't change.
exchange.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wouldn't change the
Yeah.
amount.
Cause they're not
Okay.
guaranteed, yeah, they
Yeah.
don't just get that 60,000.
It would only be if we use them.
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if it's, right,
per hour.
if we have that other attorney, then we would, yeah.
What
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
what
Use
did
it out of that
the,
60,000.
what did the rates
Yeah, it
go
would all
up
come
to?
out of there.
Thank you.
$10 more, so it's 275.
Alright, so buildings and grounds, that's our person that cleans in here. Utilities, 35, supplies, 3. What is the contractual for that, for buildings and grounds?
So like when they repair the
Boilers.
elevator, boilers.
Oh, the
or
elevator. Oh,
come for
God.
the bathroom.
Okay,
It
Yeah.
looks like the boiler needs to be not replaced, repaired.
Repair.
yeah.
Alyssa, question, can you jump back to law? There's contractual and fees negotiator. What is, I get contractual, what is the fees negotiator?
So when we have like our union contracts,
They're
working
negotiating
on those.
contracts.
So there's a separate Okay,
cost to that.
okay, thank you.
What's the contingency under special items?
That's just kind of,
If we need it? It's a slush fund
yeah.
amount? Well, it's good to see we haven't needed it yet this year.
Good thing, cause there's not a whole lot in there.
Like for new chairs, yeah.
We can make do.
When, you know, maybe we should make that a thing, when you're elected, get your,
Buy a
bring your
chair.
new
Bring your
chair.
own chair.
Yeah,
Bring
You
your
have to
own
leave
bottle.
it
yeah,
when you.
BYOC, bring your own chair. Alright. That, next thing I think is jog control. We're not gonna make any adjustments there, correct?
No.
What is this civil defense personnel? Where does that come from?
That's, the volunteer fire lieutenant chiefs.
Right.
Recreation program, library.
If we went, I don't mean to back up a little bit, but here we are.
Yeah.
If we went to an app or a scanning system for meters, then that on-street parking
Oh, on
number
street, yeah.
can be adjusted.
But we don't know that that's gonna happen?
No, we don't, I'm just saying that that's why I think it's something we need to pursue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the supplies for that would be the tickets
Yes.
I would assume.
Yeah.
And batteries, yeah.
and batteries, right.
I wonder if there's a big aftermarket for used meters anywhere.
Probably a decent
Probably throw 'em
donation
out.
market for museums.
There you go.
Tax write-off.
Would still be using them in some places, so.
Alright,
The police.
that's it, right?
No, I
pay-
had a question.
Oh. But I mean, that's it for like the line items that we have to go through,
Oh,
because we've
we-
gone through all the other
Well,
line
there's a-
items.
Paul had a question about personnel on-street parking. That's for the police officer, correct?
Police officer and, portion of the
Court?
court clerk.
Court clerk, okay.
So there's a revenue associated with that, right? Like, what is actually
On-street parking. yes.
collected?
Yep.
Yeah,
And what is that number?
on the front page.
It'd be under the revenue line.
So it's at 15, but I was gonna suggest we increase that based on
Based on
Yeah.
what we got
numbers
this
I
week.
ran this morning.
Numbers
wanna-
you read this morning?
Ran this
Oh,
morning.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're budgeting 30-something, 36,000.
So we got 25 so far, so do we wanna bump that up to 20?
Bump what up to 20?
Our anticipated
I didn't know
revenue.
where we were.
Oh,
For on-street parking?
On-street parking.
Yeah, we've gone back
what
and
are you
forth.
doing over there?
Just
Well,
making stuff up.
I just brought up the point that if we're expending so much to collect street parking fees, but the revenues are less than what
Than
we're
what-
spending,
Right.
That's,
questioning that.
well, that's one of the reasons we talked about going to another system
Yes,
And increasing our fees.
and increasing fees. That's why we're doing that.
yes.
That was the thought behind it.
But we haven't done it yet.
I'll explain that.
Chief, go ahead.
We don't have extra staff to collect. We use our current staff to collect meters, so there is no collection cost associated with it.
Other than Erlissa just takes a portion of a police officer and puts
Correct,
it
they
in that.
just, that forever it's been debited or credited as part of that line item, but there is no extra staff, there's
There's no
nowhere
one
to save.
designated?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a parking.
So it's simply the way it's shown on paper.
It's correct,
Correct.
it's an accounting process, it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with how I'm staffed, we
Okay,
do not have extra staff to collect meters.
thank you.
Right.
Pretty much in line with what I thought was happening. Yeah.
That's why there's no, it's pure profit, every quarter that goes into those meters is pure profit, but the cost now associated with it is meters are becoming antiquated and they're now, what we can buy are batteries, and batteries in this climate only last 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
So
Correct.
it's the expense that drains
Yeah.
the, profit now.
Yeah.
So, back on the first page, cause Paul was looking for how much we bring in on-street parking, we have it set to 15. We've already brought in 25 for this year, so do we wanna bump that anticipated number up to 20?
I would say we could bump it at least to 25, because we also are bumping the fees.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay,
25?
25 on that one.
Do you wanna go through the revenue portion?
That would be good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
See if we can find any more money.
So, we know that, the real property tax, we took a little hit based on, the town's equalization assessment. We went
The
down
assessed.
$500,000, so,
So I went back and looked, and that's the largest decrease since 2018.
so it decreases a little bit every year, and I've asked to see the formula, how they come up with that, why they decide it's, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure they're not picking numbers out of the air, so how did you come to that $500,000? But
Listen, yeah.
nothing yet. So that's gonna affect that as well.
Okay. Did we, that's accounted for, right? Or no?
In here, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All the updates, yes.
Okay. I guess my only concern is the franchise tax. Are we really gonna get $30,000 in the next 2 months, or should we lower that 100,000 number to like
They pay
75?
quarterly, so. Because for the last 3 quarters, they paid 71,000, right?
For the last 3, yes.
Right. So,
When is the next payment due?
It'll be
June?
probably May.
Okay.
Okay, but if it's going down every year,
So I would say maybe take 10 out of it.
okay, so change that to 90.
Yeah.
But you could probably add the utility bill tax the way that's going up. Probably add that same 10 into the utility bill tax.
Make that 117.
Yeah.
117, right?
Okay.
The number I just ran was 119, but I don't wanna
Right.
overcompensate either.
Especially because police fees for sports security. I mean, we only took in $3,000.
Is that when they go to football and basketball
you see
games?
that?
Yeah.
Is that what that's for?
Down under departmental
And
income, the second
fingerprinting.
line.
Yeah.
Pretty much
police
everything
fees.
goes in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's gonna have to come down.
To I would say 3.
That's for directing traffic after the football games, that type of thing?
Well, they're present at the football games.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
I don't know what
Yeah.
they do, if they do anything like over at the,
At the school?
yeah.
Is that, do we charge them hourly, or is that a contract we have with the schools do that?
Hourly.
Okay,
And then there's their fingerprinting fees all go in that line.
okay.
For registrar fees, I see it was increased to 2,500, but we're looking at 1,700 that came in so far. Is there any reason to have it at 25 versus 2,000 again?
I would say it probably should go back to 25. Probably we were just looking at that point like we were moving ahead.
Okay. Charges was adjusted already, industry partner.
Under licensing and permits, Chuck is, and I think Michelle is
Yes.
working, Chuck, to look at the fees he's charged. He thinks they're
Yeah,
low.
Michelle
And
and I
Ben and
met
I.
with him the
Okay,
other day.
Right.
Good.
He's proposed some changes, and are we gonna meet with him again after this meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
and,
believe he
we're
does
gonna
wanna
try and
talk.
get some additional proposals, and then we'll bring it up tonight in new business.
Well,
Right.
do you think that we need to adjust the number then? Because the proposed budget had electric plumbing licenses at 6,000 under revenue. They've
We've already
collected
cleared that.
Probably. Right.
8,200 already
Right.
this year.
Yeah, let me take a look at what he's
Let's
proposing.
see.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
proposing quite a bit. I
So
mean,
maybe we
actually,
can move that to 10?
like
I would
almost
say we could
double.
safely do
Yeah,
that now.
his
anyway.
proposal is actually, quite a bit more.
Quite a bit more.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think we could
So
do
we can
that.
feel safe, yeah.
Let's
Safe at 10.
10.
And then what about building permits? Has he
That's
talked
also
Yeah,
going to
that's
go
also
up.
going up.
And also, we're talking about, increasing like the cell tower permit
Okay.
and having a fee for,
He just gave it to us.
commercial solar and so on.
Okay.
Oh, I see, okay.
Building permits, we already are almost
Increasing
10 grand
fees.
over what we brought in already this year, so I feel like maybe we shouldn't adjust that one.
Right.
Maybe we'll be closer to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as bail, I feel like that should probably come down to 30.
Come down to what?
30? Under fines and forfeitures.
It's at, the
Right
proposed
now-
budget is 10.
On page 2?
It was 30 for 24, 25, but if you look at the proposed budget, it says 10, under sale of equipment.
No, fines
No.
and forfeitures, bail.
Oh,
Above
bail,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
55,000, 32,000,
Yeah,
45,000.
we've brought in 32, proposed is 45. Based on what the police chief and I spoke about with some of the discovery law changes, I think it's gonna be even, I don't wanna say harder, but a more time-consuming process to get people arrested to then even need bail. So, I mean, if we only brought in 32 this year, I think we should probably knock that down to 30.
Did the,
I think
did
you're
that
right.
figure, did you talk to chief about that when you put 45 into this budget?
No, it went based
Okay.
on, that's court anyway.
That's, okay. That's true. So what are you suggesting?
I think we
30?
should knock that down to 30 instead of 45.
Maybe 35.
It's just based on the conversation that I had with him, it's not gonna be as cut and dry to arrest people for investigations and things like that, so I just don't want us to plan for money that we're not gonna get,
That we're not gonna get?
because they're not even able to arrest people.
Okay.
So you wanna cut that to 30 then?
Yeah, especially because we're at 32 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
The amount of bail that we get in the next year isn't gonna go up.
I see what you're saying.
I mean,
Do
the
we
trend
plan
needs
on-
to go down, right?
Do we
Is
plan on
what-
selling a lot of equipment?
I hope so.
Okay,
Thank you,
What
New
else
York
can we
State.
sell?
I don't know,
Well,
but
Aren't there vehicles down at DPW, police vehicles?
Probably not that much.
No,
but-
not that much, yeah.
And then are we getting the fire trucks this year?
Oh,
And then we'll have
yeah.
2 fire trucks to sell. One of them will have some value and the other.
We'll have
Right.
2 fire trucks to sell, a police car, hopefully that Saturn from code enforcement, that'll get us $10.
well, let's leave it at 10 then and not
Yeah.
increase it, okay.
Yeah.
Why was there a big bump in insurance recovery this year? What happened?
Wow.
So that was the DPW roof
Okay,
Ah,
mostly,
all right,
Okay.
DPW what?
the
roof.
roof.
Oh, the roof, right,
Let's hope we don't have to,
I don't really
Wow.
like to see
Deal
a
with
large
that.
number there.
yeah.
No.
this other loss compensation,
So that's a 207A, it's for, some disabled, previously career firefighters. So, we typically, from workers' comp, we get reimbursed. And I'm actually waiting on checks that I've been waiting on and keep reaching out to workers' comp who owe us like 2.5 years worth of checks.
yes.
That's nice.
kind of figure.
So they owe us, I believe, like 60.
We have Melanie or Mark get hold of them.
We can. They actually just took it back to court. I just issued them another bill, last week.
They've already been involved in it, the attorneys?
Our workers' comp attorneys
Okay,
have.
all right.
Okay.
All right.
2.5
So we
years.
don't have to spend money on our attorney, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
I hate to see what happens if we were 2.5 years late paying one of their bills.
Right?
I think we'd hear about it.
A little bit.
What do we get for miscellaneous income for 50 grand?
I actually printed that out because I was looking and I was like, man. We received a National Grid Incentives Program check for $35,670. It's
Huh.
from the Siemens project.
Oh,
And then to the cable, $6,500 from the franchise agreement and $4,000 from the grant for the video camera.
okay.
That's a
That was most
one-time
of it.
Siemens, is that a one-time?
Mhm.
payment?
Yeah,
That's unfortunate.
yeah. All right.
How much for the camera? I'm sorry, what was?
$4,034.
Thank you.
Nice.
Mortgage tax. We're a little more than 10 grand over what we've already received. Do we anticipate?
So there will be one more
Okay.
payment on that.
And that's it for revenue. All right, so
Can I-
after our, oh, sorry.
I just want to ask, previous page, ambulance charges A 1640. Because this is a big factor here, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think we're in the situation we're in now because of this line item.
Yeah, we did raise the rates that we're charging,
Correct.
and we've been talking about eliminating the exemption for the portion that village residents would be responsible for. I think we could go ahead and do that. And that
Having
would-
residents pay.
Yeah,
Copay.
Their copay.
Their copay on their, you know, if their insurance pays so much, like I would normally pay $75 extra for the ambulance ride. And, right now, as a village resident, I wouldn't be charged that.
Correct.
Would you be able to figure that one out, like how much more we would get? I mean, I don't know if they
think
break it
that's
down.
Kind of accounted for in the 550.
Yeah,
Do you
I
think
it was-
that's in there?
it was-
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was about $92,000
Yeah.
in that area for the last year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
Okay,
And that's assuming everybody paid.
Right.
Yeah,
So you're
Well,
probably
that's
looking
the
at
other
closer to
thing.
50,
right.
which is still a decent amount of money.
sure.
So maybe if we're going to start doing that, we could raise that 50,000, assuming that we get half of it? Well, no, because that's a year and a half.
Right.
So let's say that's 75, so maybe 30.
I would like to leave it as it is,
Yeah,
just
I think
because
so.
right now, what we've brought in is $474. So we're already almost $100,000 over what we've already brought in. I understand that we've done things to kind of close that gap in raising rates, and now we're gonna, you know, charge residents a copay as well. But I don't wanna get too far more, you know, I think we should leave it as is.
All right?
I'd be comfortable with that. Because I think that does reflect the increase.
Yeah.
Okay.
The increased rates may bring it up a little bit more, but that would be it would be nice to have a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
And for Parks and Recreation, Russell Joy, that's for renting, right? And we did raise that fee,
Yeah.
so 3,000. Do we want to bump that up at all? What do you think? How much did we raise? I don't have it in front of me. Do you remember?
raise them
recall that?
$10?
Oh, I'm sorry, how much?
Did we raise them $10?
$10.
I think so.
$10, so,
Yeah, it's not a huge
I
amount.
don't think it's
Not a
enough
big
to
one.
raise that, yeah. Especially when it's only sitting at 2,500
okay,
for the year,
Yeah.
I see.
and nobody's really gonna be renting between now and.
Yeah, right,
So
June, yeah.
Yeah.
2,500 is about where we're at, so if we sit that at 3,000, that probably accounts for that
That'll help with.
$10
right,
increase
The increase.
already.
Yeah. Mhm. Zoning fees. Huh, 500, but then we actually brought in 1,400. What does that include under departmental income?
Zoning fees?
Is that what we're going to be raising?
So that would be anything that Chuck would decide it should be coded under zoning fees, so that would actually be a him question. It's what
Okay.
he codes it.
Okay,
Yeah, so
because
let's leave it at that then.
we,
I
well,
believe it's when they file for a variance.
because the area variance is going up from 100 to 200, use variance 250 to 500.
I don't think they get very many variances, though.
You don't think so?
They don't
No,
approve them
so
very
that
often.
doesn't
Yeah.
For sure.
increase the budget by that much, okay.
Those increases are proposed, right?
Yes, yes,
We haven't
no.
voted on that yet.
Right, Ben and I, we're going to go over this again
Okay.
today with Chuck, and then we'll bring it to the board to pass out, to
Yeah.
show,
Tonight.
you know, what has been proposed.
All right. We have anything else that we wanna address?
Well, I'd like to see, given the changes we just made,
Yes,
what that looks like.
yes.
Let's see
So
if we can-
currently, just to kind of run through everything, with the mayor's budget, after including the decrease of the assessed values, taxes would have gone up basically 57%. After our additions to the budget, in order to make sure that departments were still able to run, at least effectively, We're up to a 68.5% tax increase. So after today's adjustments, I don't think we added anything, I think we took stuff out, which is good. Added a little bit of income.
Then I think we need to, go through each item that when we went with the department heads, what
Right.
we talked about
Right.
maybe adjusting. So
Well,
everything-
let's wait and
Yeah,
see what this
yeah,
is, and then,
that's fine.
while Alyssa's doing that, so these are the break-even numbers for water. Bring it up to 760 from 736 per 1,000 gallons, maintain the $30 base fee. And for sewer, bring it up to $9.06 from $8.76. And
Well, they're currently $7.
They're $7,
Yeah.
right.
They're currently $7. With his proposed budget, it was,
sorry, 876, and
Yeah.
then with our adjustments, it'll be 906.
right.
Would they just be for the sewer though? Sewer rates?
No, the water rates.
Water rates would also increase,
760?
yeah,
Seven
from
sixty.
736.
That's
I see.
that's an uncomfortable jump in sewer rates.
Yes, it is.
It is. You know, and I know we're not gonna talk about it now, but the PPD contract needs to be looked at.
We're gonna look at that at the meeting tonight.
Thank you.
What time are you guys meeting with Chuck? Whenever we're done?
Yes.
Okay.
we talking about a Wednesday meeting?
No, Wednesday is public hearing.
Public hearing.
At 6?
There's one at 6 and one at 6:30.
Both the tax cap increase at 6? And then 6:30 is,
Budget. We present it to the public and accept comments. Without a discussion. We're accepting comments. We're not having a conversation. It's not a back and forth. It's not a question and answer session.
Nope.
Public comments are never supposed to be
Answered.
answered.
okay, I may have a conflict, but I might be able to work something out. Public hearing.
$62.04 per thousand.
So it didn't impact it.
$15,000 ended up we could remove from the tax rate.
So what would the tax rate be?
62.04.
From 56.7.
From that 62.25.
What percentage is that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, but oh, that wasn't the percentage, that was just the dollar amount?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not much
Oh,
difference then.
so that's not really,
No.
we're
No?
still looking at a probably 68% increase. Well,
67.9%.
Okay,
well,
so let's go through department heads' requests that we talked about with them and said we would circle back to today. Okay?
there is very little that I would take back, to be honest, because my feeling is that we gave them back the bare minimum to make sure that their department can function.
I would, go ahead, Michelle, I'm sorry.
Under fire protection, there's equipment safety.
Well, hold on, can we just start at the beginning? of where we started making adjustments, so our first adjustment was with police.
Well, I was just gonna propose a change.
I know, but I don't wanna go back and, you know what I mean, like flip-flop around.
So, let me see.
Page 2 of 6.
Yep. We're gonna start with police, then go to fire, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so when we met with, Chief, he requested 2 vehicles at 70,000 each,
Yep,
correct?
yep, to replace one vehicle that's well over 100,000 miles and another vehicle that's going to probably hit 100,000 miles before the end of this fiscal year that we're currently in.
I'm not saying that they're not necessary. I'm sure they are. And I would be comfortable with 1 vehicle now. And, like I said before, I 100% anticipate RAND funding,
You anticipate what?
Ran,
another RAND funding,
another borrowing.
yeah, another borrowing. Do you think that's accurate, Alyssa, or would you?
No, I think that's accurate.
Okay. So I think this budget should include, my own personal feeling is, immediate spending. And if in the, somewhere along the fiscal year, those things come up, then we take a look at how we're gonna fund it. But my personal feeling is we look at immediacy, and that 1 vehicle's gotta go,
Yeah.
for sure. So I would, my opinion would be that we purchase 1 new vehicle at this point, because that one's gonna go.
Okay.
That's up for debate.
I think my personal feeling is that they both need to go.
I was gonna say that, yeah. I hate to do that, but
I mean, we will be
It's-
paying down the road because we're gonna be without the vehicle then. But if we take that out, we're gonna have breakdowns.
how many cars do we have right now?
He gave us a list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bring that back up. I just remember that the one he wants to replace is sitting somewhere like 140,000 miles.
137, I think, and one is 92,
Yeah,
I think.
because we didn't purchase any last year.
Right.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't?
No.
We purchased one.
And we looked at, he requested one and we said no
Correct.
last year.
Yeah.
So 0, 1, or 2 are our options. I don't think 0's an option personally.
No, 0 is not an option.
At least one.
At least
Well-
one, I think.
Arlissa, are you able to plug that in real quick as to how much that would even impact it?
Yes, because my computer did not turn off on me this time. So that takes the rate down to 61.16, and that's 65.5% increase.
Eliminating 1 vehicle.
Yes.
And what, I'm sorry, what was the percentage rate?
65.5.
So it's 2% worth of vehicle.
And that cost was?
70,000.
Remind-
70,000.
70,
70,000.
okay.
Well, let's start there, and then we can circle back to that if it's not gonna make
Okay.
a big enough impact. What, was there another item that the chief,
The only other thing that we increased for police was his supply line. We gave him back that $8,000. And that's gonna be for
ammunition
ammo
Right.
and vests, which
Right.
they cannot go without.
and, yeah,
Yeah, they have to have the vests.
yeah, so I would consider that an immediate need.
Yes.
Yeah.
moving down, fire protection. What was your thing, Michelle, for fire protection?
Yes, under equipment safety, I know we spoke to Josh about that. The actual was just under 3,000. And I know he discussed, what he wanted to purchase, and the items were 7 years old, and they're good for 10 years. That's the equipment for when it's a harness they use.
Yeah,
For
for,
the second
for when,
floor.
yeah, for when they need to
Right.
get
Body,
out or
body
die.
harness, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those are 7 years old, and they have a lifetime expanse of 10 years, so the cost per harness, I'm not really sure of that, but I was thinking of reducing that from 10,000 to 5,000.
so
Which line are we on now?
the
Equipment
equipment
safety.
safety,
The 3410.2.
Fire protection.
Yep.
that isn't just the harnesses.
Yeah, some of that's
That's,
gear.
it's gear, it's gloves, and he also only spent 2,500 because that was all that was left to him in his budget.
We had taken funds away from
Yeah,
his.
we
Right.
cannot look at
Right.
what they spent last year because we reduced them, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And I think we've already reduced his request by 6,000, I think, taking another 5,000 out is. I
It's gonna be
bridged too
detrimental
far,
for
yeah.
his operations, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm proposing.
Melissa, does the fire protection personnel, does that include the replacement?
So
For-
it does currently. I did run numbers since the contract was, or the MOU was put in place for hours. I know that the hours that we have budgeted without replacement are enough to cover more than the hours that we've paid out since the contract MOA has been in place. So we have 30, that includes PTO, sick time, the PTO buyout, all of that. We've paid out 32,179 hours between 23, 24. That was when we had one employee out on medical for multiple months. And we have budgeted 33,608.
And that's without replacing the one that's retiring in June.
Correct.
I
And
don't
there's-
think we can do that.
Okay.
I
just
think
wanted to
you
come with the
have to,
information.
yeah, no, I think we have to plan to replace him. Just, especially if you guys are anticipating that those contract negotiations are gonna drag on, you're gonna then be looking at a good half of your budget of having to account for those hours.
What's his retirement? June? Retiring in June?
Yep.
I mean, I think we should budget for it, and if something were to happen and
Then it's a
we
happy
don't need
surprise
to
at the
hire him,
end.
then we don't.
But
Okay. How many paramedics do we currently have? 6? 7 paramedics?
I just had that written down too.
6 or 7?
Currently 6.
Currently 6.
Right.
And did we budget for the new recruit to go to paramedic school?
We
That's what
did.
we added
We
in.
did.
We added that in.
Okay. Then I would not recommend budgeting if we replace for the new hire to go to paramedic school.
I'm sorry, say that again?
If we do, when Tim Winters retires,
Right.
and we budgeted to replace him, I would not want the cost of paramedic school for that new
For that
officer.
person. For the new hire.
Yeah,
And that cost is?
paramedic school, it's pricey.
7,000, probably 3,500 per semester.
7,000?
So that
I believe
probably,
that's what it is.
that probably works. Because they're paramedic to basic, it's not just random, it's a ratio, and it's in their contract. They can only have so many basics per medic. So if you look at just certification level, Brendan then becoming a paramedic in September meets that. So then the retirement's replacement could be a basic.
Right.
Could
As
be a
long as he
basic.
is then essentially promoted into a paramedic spot.
To make it 7, you mean?
No.
No, and I don't think there's 6. 1, 2.
Maybe I counted
3.
Brendan already.
You count Tim Winters?
Okay, so with winners, it's 6.
Yeah.
Because he's not on this list anymore. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So there's 6. So if we're accounting for the replacement, and then taking 6 out of ambulance training to bring that back down to 6.
To bring it down to 6?
Yeah, cause it was adjusted to 5.
Right.
When we talked with him, he said that wasn't enough, so we bumped it back up to 12.
That's what he requested, yeah.
So then if we're not anticipating to send somebody to paramedic school, you can bring it back down to probably 6.
Why would we need to increase it 1,000? If it's at 5 now. Mayor's adjusted budget was 5 for ambulance training.
Cause I just took out essentially what it's gonna cost to send somebody to paramedic school, which is about $6,000,
Yeah, the new hire will still have to go to firefighter school,
correct?
Mm-hmm.
although that wouldn't be an ambulance training, would it?
No. But we still have to pay for, potentially recertification and all that stuff, so,
I'd go up to 6, but I wouldn't go up to 12.
okay. That's fine.
All right.
Ambulance contractual, he asked that we bump that up to 60. And
I don't have that noted, so did we?
We did.
Yes.
we did, but I'm not sure that we need to do that.
What was his reasoning? Was that because of the number of charts they submit? That's what that is, right?
No, he said he had something with the volunteers, something that he had to pay for with the volunteers. I had it written down.
Do we want to call him?
It was some programming. Apparently I did not write down the name of it.
Some programming?
Yeah.
Cause I thought that ambulance contractual was for when they send the charts, cause they do charge us.
Oh, purchase CPR device. Paying $8,000 volunteers. Volunteers.
The volunteers
I don't
bought
think that's
that.
contractual though.
That's not contractual, but that's what I have written down.
They need another one? I thought the volunteers bought another one to keep it up to the number they needed.
What do you mean?
Didn't they purchase something for the ambulance?
The
The
lift?
power
lift.
load.
The power lift, right, but I believe it was also, I can't think of what they call it. It's for CPR. You,
The
AED?
AED?
That's something different.
Oh,
Something
oh,
for,
The,
Automated CPR.
oh,
Yeah,
they have a
yeah.
name for it. I
CPR,
just can't
automated.
think of it.
all
Yeah,
I know is
Yeah.
the brand name of the one that they
Yeah.
didn't get. Do you want me to just call him?
Yeah,
Ask
maybe you
them.
should.
So if we're gonna be back up to staff, do we need $35,000 worth of overtime?
I would say yes, because we don't have anybody to hire at the present moment.
In this year.
Well, I didn't answer.
32,354.
Well, plus another 30 from ambulance, so close to 60.
57,000, is it? 537?
For
Overtime
overtime?
expense?
For overtime, yeah, it's close to 60.
Right.
I would imagine it's gonna be about the same.
Yeah, until we can find somebody, unless
Well, at least
Unless
start
the
for one
stars
job.
align and, we're able to hire somebody and send them off to the academy, but even still, the academy,
You're gonna take that person away then?
yeah,
They won't be
starts in
working.
August. So we're looking at least half the year without boots
It's
filled.
pretty costly.
Well, I'm,
That's how it goes with the fire department, though. If you hire somebody, then you gotta send them away, and then they're not able to be present at work, so we need overtime to cover that, right?
Yes, that's basically what we're up against there. I don't see that changing.
It's expensive.
Hello. So we had a couple questions.
Okay.
Alright, you're on speakerphone. Under ambulance contractual, you wanted that bumped up to 60. What did that cover?
Ambulance contractual covers a lot, but majority of it is the EMS billing rate, $35 per call, per chart that we do. It covers the payment this year of the automatic CPR device.
That was-
Covers things like
Right.
subscription to the online CME program that the guys do. But that's really the big three things.
Okay. And 52 is not feasible for that.
So kind of like I alluded to, I think it would be too low if we kept it that. You know, I guess I'd have to come back maybe April and say, hey, listen, we're not gonna be able to pay April's PAV bill, we're gonna need to transfer some money, so that option doesn't exist, but, I think 60 would be, covers everything.
Okay.
Wasn't the volunteer firemen, weren't they going to purchase, something for us there, the, what, I'm trying to think what,
Yes, the payment for the automatic CPR devices.
right, that's it.
They pay half half of that. So our payment this year is a couple dollars over 8,000. The total bill is 16,000. The
Okay.
volunteers pay half and we pay half as the village.
Okay,
That's the
That's
same.
the 8.
that's what you're
So
talking
we were
about.
talking about,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
Yep.
Can I get $16,000 for doing CPR?
Anybody have anything
Like a
else?
machine?
Chief?
That was pretty good. I will tell you. Anybody have any other questions for the chief?
Nope.
Well, I did want to ask him about the equipment safety, if we could bring that down. Because you had mentioned that, the harness gear, you did want to purchase, how many more of those? And they're 7 years old right now, but they're good for 10 years?
Yeah, so that was just one of the examples I gave that comes out of that line. I know we spent some significant time talking about that piece of equipment, but that's just one of the many things.
Okay.
Equipment safety covers everything from, new flashlights to if someone breaks their helmet to new safety goggles. I mean, I could list probably 20 different things that it covers. I know we spent a lot of time on the
Right.
bailout systems, so yes, that, I do plan to purchase 2 or 3 bailout systems this year with that money, but that definite number will be driven from what else I have to purchase. I know that's not a hard answer, but that's what I use that line for.
Okay.
Right? If we have a lot of flashlights break, then maybe I can't buy three of those bailout systems, maybe I just buy 2. So it's hard for me to give you a definite answer on that.
Well,
That's fair.
I'm just wondering if we could forego buying extra harnesses this year, and what the cost
We
would be.
absolutely, that, we went without this current year. So if we go out without this year, that's fine, but, then come next year, I seem like I would be fighting for the same conversation of, well, we went out without it for 2 years, I really need it, so that would be my only statement regarding that request.
You did say that they were good for 10 years, correct?
Correct, that piece of equipment's good for 10 years.
Right.
Okay.
But the only problem is, that's not the only equipment that he buys out of that line.
But I'm
And
zeroing in on that, and I want to know, what is the cost?
I think it's probably safe to say that he has a list of 100 things that he could buy out of that
I
line.
have a question.
So, also,
About the
I
cost.
Do you want to know what the cost is per unit?
I wanted to know the cost.
do you know how much each harness is?
A bailout system is the harness and bailout system is about $1,200 per setup. So per system is about $1,200.
And how many, excuse me, I'm not finished asking. And how many did you want to purchase?
Well, ideally, every year I would purchase 3, maybe 4. Every year I would purchase a few, because what I'm trying to prevent is us having to buy 15 of them at 1 year. That's what I'm trying to prevent.
I
So having
understand
some-
that. I'm just asking if we could reduce that cost.
Reduce the cost of the $10,000 that's on the current budget?
To reduce that cost from, right, 10,000.
It's already been,
It's-
my own feeling is we already almost cut him
Right, we already almost cut him.
33%.
Yes, and I also feel like we're not gonna be in any better of a financial situation this time next year.
I-
So,
I-
I think to cut that now and hope that he has enough money magically next budget or the budget afterwards to buy what he wants.
I mean, even
And
if we knocked
needs-
3,000
Well,
off that doesn't accomplish
yeah.
much.
Right.
If we knock $3,000 off, that might bring our tax rate from 67.9 to 67.5. What did we accomplish other than our firefighters now don't get adequate gear?
They have adequate gear right now, from what I understand. They have it. And he
Why don't
just
you
wants to buy replacements.
Thank you, chief.
And what I'm saying is, no, excuse me, I'm not done yet.
I'm saying we don't need to talk to the chief. Chief doesn't need to be part of this conversation.
Okay.
All right, thank you, chief.
Great, thank you,
Enjoy your vacation.
thank you.
All right.
So what I'm saying is that we put off him buying 3 of those and bring it down $3,000 to $7,000.
But
That's-
here, I think you're zeroing in on that one piece of equipment. And the
That's-
problem with doing that is if we give him $10,000, he will take that $10,000 and he will spend it on whatever he needs, whatever he, needs to
Correct.
replace, whatever
Correct.
the department needs. So he could decide that he needs to forego those harnesses, and that's fine, but we still shouldn't be cutting down even further from his ask of $16,000 because he could very easily spend $10,000 on safety equipment for those officers, or for those firefighters.
My thoughts are reducing the bailout.
But it's not just the bailout. If he doesn't buy the bailout, he could buy
understand that.
something else.
I
I also
understand
have
that.
no interest in telling a department head how to run their department and what
I understand
equipment
that, but
they should be
I'm
buying.
looking
And
at
to
the
take it
budget.
from $10,000 to $7 is gonna not, all it's going to do is impact how he's able to run his department and make no difference in our tax
Okay,
rate.
so.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
So there's a suggestion that we reduce that to how much?
7,000.
That we reduce that 3,000. Who thinks that's something we want to do? I'm a no. Ben?
I'd be willing to knock 1,000 off, but I really wouldn't want to go any lower. I don't really like knocking 1,000 off at
Yeah.
this point. So I know he's got to get 2 sets of turnout gear this year, and, it's gonna be a lot.
Paul?
I think the impact it's gonna have on the tax rate is quite minimal. So,
I mean, if you look at his entire budget, from what he requested, $125,000 has already been deducted from it, from his proposed budget, and that's probably, I would say, the largest in any department.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is we leave that alone, but
I mean, going forward, I think we need to take a hard look at how our department
Right.
functions and maybe
Right.
change things up. But
the-
that's
these,
not something we can do as part of this process.
these are all fair questions we're asking,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
What are you spending your money on? What is the level of priority, right?
But the way things are structured, I don't think we can cut them much more. We've already chopped them.
Yes.
125.
Yeah, we're chopping them pretty good, and there are certain things that are kind of fixed.
And that's not accounting for the 126 that was chopped from ambulance service. That is also part of his budget.
a total of 314,000.
Correct.
Okay. Was there, I don't have anything else in my notes that we
That we
discussed about
putting back?
adjusting, yeah.
No, other than, water and sewer.
Okay, we're not touching that, okay. Water and sewer,
Sewer, we gave back $56,000. Most of that is the electric bill.
right.
Ouch. So not really much we can do there. While we're on the topic of sewer, everybody got Erlissa's, rate adjustment for us to break even. We're looking at $9.06 and an increase of $5 to the base fee. Our current sewer rate is $7. That feels a little uncomfy.
$9 feels uncomfortable?
From 7, yeah,
for-
as well as
Yep.
increasing the base fee?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
I would be okay with increasing the base fee and bringing it up to 8. I know that doesn't leave us at break even, but it's at least closer and not as painful.
And we did only go up. we
Half
didn't
a
go up
year.
That much for sewer previously either, so. I think that's fair.
Okay.
So you're proposing just raising, 7 to $8, and then what about the base fee?
Increase that as well to 30.
Increase that as well?
I definitely think we should increase the base fee.
The water rate proposed increase was from 7 to 760, maintaining the $30 base fee.
And I think that's fine.
So you wanna do 760 rather than 8?
No,
For
that's
water.
for water. Sewer is at 8. And then water, go from 7 to 760. Cause really all we did was add in 5 and then some capital, those capital projects.
I know that one capital project for, $4 million, engineer assessment,
Yeah, that's not happening.
that's not happening, right, Chad?
No.
Okay. I
No,
just wanted to
no.
No,
make
that
sure.
was just something that was
Okay.
proposed we do many,
Right.
many years ago.
I'll
Yeah.
delete that out.
Yeah, I think we've determined at this point, any dam work is pretty cost prohibitive for us at this point.
Unless we can get some grants.
Yeah, but even our matching portion is cost prohibitive. All right.
So given all that, Alyssa,
So the only thing we cut is a police car? Well, here's probably the split, is we cut a police car, but we didn't have factored in the policeman firefighter.
yeah.
So that probably is gonna pretty close to balance out. Not, well,
So currently, we're at a 65.3% increase and $61.09 per thousand rate.
69,
6109 and a 63.5.3%.
65.3%.
6109, okay. So then, once you add in that replacement firefighter,
Is that with
That's
that?
in here
oh, that's in
already.
that 65 and
Yes.
6109, okay.
Yep,
And that's one police car?
correct.
two?
One.
Okay. And if we kept it at 2, it would be that 67.9 number?
Yes.
How do we feel about that 2%? Is it worth it?
If we kept it at 2, it would be that 60,
67.9.
that first number plus, oh, minus a couple changes that we made.
So pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with 1.
Okay. I'm not
One.
comfortable, but that's fine.
One car for now, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not,
We may end up having to buy a second one anyway.
I'm not comfortable with any of these numbers.
No.
But
It's a
I mean,
real
there's-
difficult,
there is,
unless you cut people, I mean, that's
which
the
you can't,
only other option.
which you can't do.
But because of contracts, we
Yep.
can't do that.
Well, not even contracts, it's, if our departments are so minimally staffed as it is, if we start cutting people, they're not gonna function, and you might as well just
There
cut the
would be
entire service.
another way of looking at another department though, but,
Well, there are lots of ways.
I know.
mean, I've
but under the contract,
Under-
we're not
as
able to do that.
currently constructed,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
accurate. And I have said before, and I will say it again, that the only way, in my opinion, for this village to survive is to look at every opportunity we have at consolidation, mergering, shared services. We need to drill that down and actually give it more than lip service, and pursue all those opportunities. Because we cannot continue to live like this. You
We are
can't.
providing city services on a village budget,
Yep.
and we are one of probably only a handful of villages within the entire state that have both a paid fire and police department.
There are very few villages in New York State that have paid fire departments, very few.
I think I mentioned to you, I think there's only one, which is Fredonia.
No, there's,
There's
there,
there's
no,
a
there's,
couple.
There's a
there's
few.
a
Yeah,
couple.
we
There are
found
a few.
There's a
couple.
few,
Okay.
and the few that there are, I don't think they also have paid police.
Yeah.
So, that we may be the only one.
Yeah.
So what we're saying then, or you're saying is, if we're gonna survive, we need to make dramatic changes in our structure.
I think this tells the tale.
Yeah.
These numbers say we have to make dramatic changes. Nothing can strike home more than the tax increase we're looking at. Right? In my opinion, this is not sustainable
No,
at all.
no.
And if we're going to have to borrow money again, once again, we're just going deeper in a hole and
Yeah,
we'll be
we-
bankrupt.
Yep, can't
And-
keep doing that.
Prices keep going up. I mean, over the last 10 years, inflation's been 35%. What have our taxes increased over 10 years? Nothing close to that,
Well, that's
Less than
correct.
10.
you know?
And-
If we were just matching inflation, would have increased taxes 35% since
And Ben,
2015.
I do not disagree with you. I think you're 100% accurate. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it doesn't help our current situation.
Nope.
Litigating
it
the
doesn't.
past does not help our future. We,
But the reality is, the future's gonna
Yep.
be the same.
yeah, unless we
It's
do
gonna
something about it.
continue. It may even be worse,
Yep.
So the only way we can do something about it is to have a plan. Is that correct?
yes. Well, we gotta start with one.
Yep.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna go anywhere unless we have goals and a plan.
So when we talk about, a joint operations with another entity, we cannot poo-poo that.
Correct.
Right,
We can't. I don't care what those municipalities are now. Because the municipalities we would be trying to work with are under the same stress as we are.
Correct.
All of them are.
But you want that extra burden from someone else. I mean,
We wouldn't do it if it was gonna be another burden. We're only gonna
Right.
do it if it's gonna help our situation.
that's what I would like to see.
And
But we
hopefully
don't know
win.
unless we explore. We're not gonna know what's gonna help our situation unless we look at every opportunity.
Was that study, that feasibility study with the city ever started?
No,
We're still waiting for the
on
grant to come through.
Okay.
Wow.
Is that a state holdup or what's the,
They have not released who has received the grant.
but that, New York
So it's
State,
through the
correct?
state, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
has the
And
state
I'm not
budget
gonna say it'll
passed?
be here this week.
I don't think it has been.
I don't think so.
So that's
I
We're
was
probably
still,
why.
for the
we're
state
still
budget to
waiting
pass.
on the state budget.
Oh, that's probably.
That's
what
true,
they're
probably
on
right.
so if that's the case, should we get our state representatives involved? Our assemblyman and senator?
I think,
I mean, the budget, they're in the still just within their budget process.
Yeah, I think once the budget passes, if we don't hear that it's happened, then we need to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, or don't wait and explore options now. So, all right,
That it?
see you tonight at 6.
See you all tonight. Can't wait.
Thank you, everybody.
Nobody
I know
else,
it's
no
been a
one else I'd
grueling
rather spend the day
process.
with.